The better you know yourself, the more you can adjust and play with that filter. You can again use it to your advantage. That's when we talk about identity shifts, shifting, changing your identity, changing your personality. Hello, my loves, welcome back. So today we continue our little series about the tailored astrology readings that I offer and what you can get out of them. And even if you're not particularly looking to get a reading, you can still get something out of this video because I will talk about astrology, astrological placements, and how you can use them in your life to your advantage. And then, of course, I will also describe how my particular readings, my astrology readings, can help you create your best life. Now, this specific reading that we are talking about here is your energetic code, your energetic makeup. We are decoding your energetic makeup, the energies you're made of. You will learn a lot about your strengths, your weaknesses, and you might say, well, I already know my strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, you might already know that, but how do you utilize both to your advantage? How do you overcome obstacles using both to your advantage? This reading will give you a deeper look, a deeper dive into your core essence, into what you're made of, and how you can utilize all of it to your advantage to live the life you want. How you can grow and thrive and live a healthy and full life with a full cup, not an empty cup or a half empty cup. And how you can then give from that full cup to others. So we are going to start, of course, with the sun. The sun is your guiding light. The sun is your life force. The sun is part of your core identity. And I say part, it's not your full core identity, because your core identity is made up of like different energetics. But it is a very, very, very important part. And some people have told me that they don't really identify with their sun sign. And that could be because maybe their sun is in Taurus, and then they have 5 planets in Aries. So they identify more with that energy. They're still a sun. They're still shining their light as a Taurus sun, not as an Aries. The Aries comes through intensely, not as the sun, not as life force energy. You have to adhere to your sun in order to be fully in your life force energy. Then another thing could be that, and this is a very, very personal example here, because I have people in my close circle, and I have a very small close circle because I like it that way. But I have 3 people in my close circle that have a Leo sun in the 12th house. Now, it's not that this is the rarest thing in the world, but out of 10 people, 3 with that placement, that stands out. Right? It stands out to me, and I'm looking at this for myself, and I'm like, oh, what can I learn from this? Why is that the case? Why do I have these people close to me? What am I learning here? What are they learning from me? But what I wanted to say here is that the sun is naturally torn in Leo. We all know Leos, right? Most of them, many of them, are very flamboyant in their expression. They don't necessarily look flamboyant, some do, but they the Leo comes through. When we have Leo in the 12th house, the sun in Leo in the 12th house, that Leo energy, that life force energy, has to be channeled through spiritual realms in order to be expressed. That doesn't mean that all of you with that Leo sun in the 12th house will have to go and live in the Himalayas, as a monk. No, that doesn't mean that. You can still be a thriving member of society. And by that, I mean, not saying monks are not thriving members of society. I'm saying you can still be all out there, do your thing, but you have to incorporate your spirituality. And I say your spirituality. I'm not talking about religion here. The 12th house has nothing to do with religion. Nothing. That's the 9th house area. Organized religion is in the 9th house. Spirituality is your core understanding, your understanding of you being part of this universe. You have God within you. You have that all within you. Like the Hermetic principles all talk about the all. We are in the all, and the all is within us. That doesn't mean that you are God, but you have the particles, right? You have that part within you, and that is part of your essence that connects you to the other realm. You know, you live on this physical plane and, you know, things work a certain way in the Saturnian world, but you know, you're still connected to the other realm and you can tap into that. And specifically with the sun in the 12th house, you gotta tap into that to express your sun fully. You will never express your sun fully if you're not able to trust that 12th house energy. And there's a very close person in my life that struggles with that a little bit. They're very at home in the 3D world, very at home in the 3D. But the tapping into the other realm, you know, they have that, they know that, they have that inner knowing. And the most interesting thing about people with the 12th house sun is that they know things before they happen. And if they can trust that, oh my God, the things that they can experience in this life, tremendous. But again, you gotta trust that and you have to learn that trust. And I also have someone in my life with that 12th house Leo sun who knows exactly how to do that. She thrives with her 12th house Leo sun. She is, I don't want to say a spiritual master, but she knows how to use her spiritual essence to express her sun. She figured it out beautifully. Anyways, next one we're going to look at, obviously, the moon. The moon is your emotional essence. The moon, it tells us a lot about, first of all, your conditioning, the conditioning in your childhood, conditioning you came in with, right, into this world, but also the way you emotionally express all of that, right? How this shows up, how you emotionally digest, how you respond to the world, what you need, your core needs. That's what the moon says. The moon says, this is my need. It's not a want or something nice to have. No, it's a need. And if that need isn't in place, nothing will thrive. You know, you can't thrive if you have your needs, if your needs are not met. You can function, surely. A lot of people don't have all their needs met, they function. But you cannot thrive. So you gotta make sure to understand that moon energy in you. Also, this is like where inner child work comes in, deconditioning comes in, you know, to thrive. You know, you gotta take off all those layers, understand what you actually need to live with a full cup. Then, of course, you know, in the holy trinity of astrology, we have the sun, we have the moon, and then we have the rising sign. The rising sign tells us, first of all, about your physical appearance. Not fully, you know, all of you, not all Leo risings look the same, not all Virgo risings look the same, but there is, you know, there's always an aura where we know, even though one Leo rising might be a bit bigger and the other Leo rising might be a little skinnier, there's still something that will give it away. But that's not the main thing, in my opinion, about the rising sign. I think the main thing about the rising sign is the constant evolution. It's the part of us that is in constant evolution because our rising sign is our objective in life. It's we are growing into it. We are born with it, but we're also growing into it. You will understand how to utilize your rising sign in a better capacity or maybe even to a full capacity. And then when you then connect that with your sun, ooh, you know, talk about thriving. That is really beautiful. The rising sign also tells us a lot about how you show up in the world. It's part of your identity. It also the rising sign also is obviously part of our conditioning, right? It's highly conditioned. That's why it's so important that we really learn about ourselves and understand how to tap into our rising sign from a place of authenticity. Because again, there's a lot of conditioning in the rising sign. And not all conditioning is bad. You know, there is good conditioning as well. And by good, I mean conditioning that serves you, that helps you move forward in life. But then there's conditioning that hinders you. And you have to see the difference. You have to understand how you thrive and how you thrive authentically. Also, the rising sign is often what people meet first when they meet us, right? That's the person they meet. Sometimes, you know, if you are an Aries, that Aries will often shine through. But generally, people meet the rising sign. We show up as the rising sign to others. It's like, sometimes it's looked at as a mask. I like to call it a filter, because we filter everything through that rising sign. Our moon filters through it, our sun filters through it, Mars filters through it. It's a filter. And you decide how thick and how thin that filter is. The better you know yourself, the more you can adjust and play with that filter. You can again use it to your advantage. That's when we talk about identity shifts, shifting, changing your identity, changing your personality. Then the next thing I want to talk about is Mercury. Mercury, the mind. Mercury, the way we think, the way we digest mentally, right? The moon is how we digest emotionally. Mercury is how we digest mentally, and how we then communicate what we've digested or what we have not digested yet. Because especially, for example, if you have an Aries Mercury, that Mercury likes to just jump on everything before things are fully digested, right? Before they move through you, they come to you and you spit it out. Generally, that is true for the fire signs, for Mercury in a fire sign. They just talk before they have fully formed something in their mind. It just comes in and then they just say it, and then they start thinking about it. That doesn't mean that this is all negative. You can, again, use everything to your advantage. You just have to utilize it properly. So Mercury tells us a lot about how you express yourself in this world, the way you communicate, what's going on here, your intellectual capacities. And understanding your Mercury sign can help you use it to your advantage in all areas. Then Venus, lovely Venus. What is Venus? Venus is how we love, what we love in life in general, but also how we want to be loved, not how we need to be loved. The need is a moon thing, but it's how what we want, and we shouldn't underestimate that, right? It's important as well to live a full life, to have the things you desire. So Venus is also our values and the worth we hold inside, and how that worth then expresses on the outside. And our Venus sign can tell us a lot about the way we see ourselves from a worth perspective, and how we value that, and how we value ourselves, and how we value the things in life, and what we need to have in place from a core value perspective in relationships. Right? In a relationship, it's quite important to know what you want and what your core values are. And the Venus energy within us shapes all that to a huge extent. Venus is also telling us about our sensuality, the way we express that sensuality in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. How we show up in our feminine energy, how easy it is to show up in our feminine energy, or how hard it is where we have difficulties showing up in our feminine. Then Mars, our drive. Mars is how we get what we want. When Venus is what we desire, what we want, Mars is how we get it. That's why these two, they need to work together. And if we have them in the chart placed in a way where they are not working together easily, we have to find a way to make things more smoothly, right? We will have to overcome a few more obstacles probably. Mars is also our ambitions. How ambitious are we? And that doesn't mean that, for example, a Mars in Pisces is not ambitious at all. But Mars in Pisces, for example, needs to know where to place him or herself in order to tap into that ambition, because we all have ambitions within us. All of us, no matter where our Mars sits, no matter what sign it's in, the ambition, it's a natural part of us. But for example, a Mars in Pisces might need a more creative surrounding, a more artistic world to tap into that ambition. Whereas a Mars in Aries, that doesn't need that. A Mars in Aries has like probably an easier time to tap into ambition in general. But also, it's very possible that Mars in Aries feels more at home when it comes to ambitions in areas where can be physical, like actually physical sports. We have many athletes with a Mars in Aries. Then Jupiter, the great expander. Jupiter, the the luck in life, that what people call the luck. But really what it is, the energy, it's like the big expansive energy. And when we have more space, there is also more chances for luck, right? For things to happen. You know, when you're in a little space, there isn't that much room for a lot of different things to unfold. In a bigger space, in a bigger city, more things happen. You know, if you live in a little village, not so much happens. Doesn't mean it can't be fun and full and thriving, but it's a very different energy. And Jupiter is the big city. Jupiter is New York. Jupiter is not the little village in South Dakota. So in order to fully tap into our Jupiter energy, we have to allow ourselves to always expand. If we don't allow ourselves to expand here, but also in the way of like moving out there in the world, experiencing life, venturing out, filling our cup, expanding, making more room for experiences, making more room for blessings to come in, then we're going to have a hard time, and Jupiter will not bring the blessings. We got to work with Jupiter energy. Wherever our Jupiter sits, the energy it holds there, that will tell us how to best tap into that energy. So Jupiter in Pisces functions differently than a Jupiter in Libra, for example. So we just have to understand that energy, and in order to tap into that energy. So that would be next. Then our favorite, Saturn. Saturn, the structures of life. Saturn, the boundaries of life. Saturn, the strength, right? Saturn, the karmic lessons we all have to learn. I don't care who you are, how successful or unsuccessful you are. We all have to deal with Saturn in our own ways. And that is also part of the growth. It's part of us evolving, maturing. It's a maturing energy. Saturn is about discipline, life lessons, long-term success, not the quick, the quick success. Not like, let's make a quick buck here, let's do this. That is not Saturn. That is Martian energy. Saturn energy cares about the long term, the long run. What do we want in 10, 15 years? Where are we going? Where are we heading? And what needs to be in place for that? Saturn takes its sweet old time, and sometimes that drives us crazy. But Saturn always rewards at the end if you do the thing that you need to do, not the thing that you think someone else told you other people need to do. No, what is your Saturn energy? You have to work with your Saturn energy, not your friend's Saturn energy, your mother's Saturn energy, your Saturn energy. What is your Saturn energy telling us about the structures of life, about discipline, about staying the course? It's staying power. Saturn is staying power. And some people say that, oh, I don't have staying power, or this person doesn't have staying power. Well, we all have staying power. We just have to know how to tap into it, how to utilize it. That's part of the lesson as well, the staying power. It's part of the lesson. You can just give up easily. Yeah, I give up. Saturn generally doesn't reward giving up. Saturn breaks things a lot, but that doesn't mean Saturn wants you to give up. Saturn just wants you to give in. It's a very different energy. So we will learn about that as well. Then Chiron. Chiron, one of my favorites because I'm very much into inner child work. And I have a whole course on that, helping you to heal that inner child energy, shadow work. And so for me, Chiron energy is very, very important. And specifically, what I look at is the energy that Chiron connects to in the chart. What are the connection points of Chiron? Well, first of all, of course, where does it sit? What house does it sit in? What sign is it in? What's that energy like? Because Chiron takes a while to move through a sign. So I wouldn't say it's generation energy, but close to that, right? Like there's a lot of people with the same Chiron sign in our generation. So my generation is the energy generation of Chiron Taurus, and that energy specifically works with understanding your worth, knowing your worth, embodying your worth. That's always the hardest part, right? We can think ourselves into that, right? It's like, yeah, my worth, I understand my worth. I just understand that I'm inherently worthy. I don't have to prove anything. You know, we can, most of us can understand that mentally. Embodying that, completely different story. So our Chiron energy helps us understand where we have to work on and how best to work on it. In Taurus, it's all physical. Somatic work, somatic therapy, somatic healing, nervous system healing, working with the body, deep body work. And then the nodes, the North Node and the South Node, the nodes of faith, the nodes that tell us where we are headed in this physical reality, right? And what we brought in with us that can help us get there. I hear a lot that people think that the North Node is where we're going and the South Node is what we have to leave behind. That's not entirely true. The South Node is what we have to integrate. We're not leaving it behind. It's an axis. It's an axis. And we can't just cut off part of the axis. We're not cutting it off. We have to integrate it. To get to our North Node, we have to integrate the South Node. So we have to work on that South Node, integrate it in the best way possible so we can then fully express our North Node beauty, our North Node self. So that's all we're going to look at in this reading. I love doing these readings. I love working with you on really uncovering who you are and where you're at in your life and how you can grow deeper into that glorious self. Because it's all already within you. You just have to dig it out and work with it. You've got to work with what you've got. You will never find anything out there that isn't already within you. You know, we've especially in the world we live in now, we're always trying to find the glory outside of us. But the glory, it's not outside of us. The glory is within. And when you decode that glory, you can then live it. You can then live it out in the external world. So if you have any questions about this reading, please feel free to comment below. You can book the reading by clicking on the link in the description box. And yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I wish you a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video.